Whether you're trying to get an internship or a job, the first thing that a recruiter is going to ask you is for a portfolio. And if you don't have one, you don't stand a chance. And even those who are successfully able to make a portfolio do a bad job at it. So how do you make a portfolio that helps you stand out as well as get the job? We'll talk about that in this video. We will divide this video into 3 parts. First, we are going to discuss about why most designers and design aspirants struggle to make a portfolio and how can you overcome it. Number 2, we are going to talk about why most portfolios suck. And number 3, we are going to talk about an easy guide to get started with making your portfolio. Let's start with part number 1. Why most designers struggle to create a portfolio and how can you start working on it. The first struggle that most designers face is, since they are just trying to get into the industry and they do not have any UX design experience, how can they create a case study? And it's a very big problem in the industry, because if you haven't got a job or internship in UX, you don't have a project, and if you don't have a project, you don't have a portfolio, and if you don't have a portfolio, you will not get an internship or a job. I know this can be difficult. I have been there. So here is how you can overcome it. You can volunteer for someone or work with someone who is looking for some help, and while helping them on the UX project, you can learn some skills and also show the work in your portfolio. Number 2 is, you can find problems around you and try solving it, and in the process you document it and convert it into a case study which can be a part of your portfolio. So these are the 2 ways that can help you get started with making your first case study and help you create a portfolio as well. Let's talk about the second biggest struggle most designers face. So if you have done some work or done a few projects, it can be very difficult to decide which ones to keep and which ones to let go. The first instinct might be to keep all of the projects because it's great, like if I can show 10 projects, etc. It's not. Just choose the best 3 to 5 projects for your portfolio and just show them. If you have done a lot of projects, it can be beneficial as well as it can hurt you. So you have the liberty to choose the best projects or the kind of work that you want to do more of in the future, to choose those projects and only show them in your portfolio. Always remember that your portfolio is just as good as the weakest project that you are showing. So if you show a lot of projects and one case study is super weak, then you are going to struggle with it because the recruiters are going to judge you on the basis of that one project. Also, at the same time, keep the first project in your portfolio the best one, because it's the prime real estate and you do not want to waste it. So show your best work, put your best foot forward, create a best first impression, and that's how you are going to convince the recruiter to give you a shot. The third biggest struggle that any designer face is they are not putting enough importance to their own project. When we work with clients, we give importance to it, we try to complete it on time and things like that. But when we are working on our projects, we are our worst clients. We procrastinate, we keep extending the timelines, we do not meet a certain expectation bar, and somewhere in there the perfection syndrome kicks in and we want to make it the perfect thing in the world, and for that we take months and months to complete our portfolio. So the advice is simple: give importance to your project, treat yourself as a client and get the work done. You don't have to make it perfect the first time, just get it out there, put a great show but complete it, and that's what is going to create the maximum difference in your world. Fourth biggest problem that any designer face is where to host my portfolio. We can host it on Notion, Webflow, Wix, Medium, and there are a lot of platforms that can help you host your portfolio, but where to host it? And it can cause analysis paralysis because we end up not making one, and choosing the platform will actually define how we should present our case study. So just choose the platform that works best for you, tell your story and put it out there. Start applying to jobs and internship, and over time you can revisit it and fix it later. Now at least you have a story ready, and from there you can take it to the next level whenever you have to. We have also created a video on making case studies the right way, and if you want to check that out, it is pinned over here. And if you're making the portfolio for the first time, then there are some mistakes you should definitely avoid. These are the same mistakes that make any portfolio suck. and suck really bad. The first thing that makes any portfolio suck is not thinking about the audience. It's the way we designers work. It's our job to think about the audience and then create a product that solves their problem. But when we are creating a portfolio, we often forget this one mantra. And that's what is the biggest reason most portfolios suck. Because while you are creating the portfolio, think about the recruiter. They have tons of portfolios in front of them, sometimes even hundreds, and they do not have a lot of time at their hand because they have to go through hundreds of portfolios portfolio and choose the one which they can move forward with. A few good things or a few red flags are enough for them to decide if they want to go forward with you or not. So your job is to win the first impression. You have to make a great first impression to be able to consider for the next round. So knowing this, it's not difficult to win that first impression. How do you do that? You actually create something that is easy to understand as well as it's visually aesthetically pleasing. The story can be easily scanned through and someone can understand it really well even if they are scanning through it. And also keep the time in mind. Since the recruiters do not have a lot of time, you have to optimize it for something that someone can just go through in 2 minutes. And if you do that, you're going to win the first impression. And that's how you can care about the audience, because they do not have time, and make sure that your story is coming out really nicely. Talking about the audience, let's talk about the second thing that makes a portfolio suck, and it is to use a cookie cutter template. Do you know how many portfolios a recruiter goes through? Probably hundreds, if not thousands, for hiring like for 2 or 3 positions. And so they have seen it all. They have seen all the templates that exist out there because everyone is using the same. And if you are using the same, you are just like everybody else. You do not have any distinction. You do not stand out. I do not understand what makes you different. So stop using a cookie cutter template. Your portfolio should help a recruiter know who you are, what your voice is, what you stand for. They are not hiring this portfolio. They are hiring you. So you have to stand out. You have to talk about your core skills. Do not write, I'm a problem solver. Instead, talk about how do you solve that problem. So if UX writing is your thing, UX research is your thing, talking to users and figuring out the problem is your thing, talk about that. It's not enough to say you are a problem solver, but how do you solve the problem? What makes you different? So if you're saying that you are good at something, it should reflect in your portfolio as well. So if you're saying that you are good at UX writing or illustration, so your portfolio should show the good UX writing or use some great illustration to depict that. Back it up with some value in terms of some examples, some case studies, how you can depict that, hey, I'm really good at this. And if you do that, you'll make a case for yourself and you'll stand out from all the rest of the crowd. While we're talking about standing out from the crowd, one of the biggest mistakes almost every portfolio has is using block of text, a wall of text, using so much text that people zone out in the middle and close your portfolio. So here's my suggestion for you. Don't type everything. Show visual stories. Show an image that depict the same. The good rule of thumb is do not write more than 4-5 lines at a time, and keep it well distributed with using some callouts, some illustrations, some images, some mock-ups. And if you are using words, be very brief with it. And in that too, highlight the words, bold words, italic the words which are important for them to read or understand the story. Because no one reads massive paragraphs. They are not reading a newspaper. They are here to see the case study where you have solved a problem. And while talking about reducing the text, do you know what hurts a case study even further? It's showing every single thing that you have done. So here's my suggestion. Discard 50% of the things that you want to tell. Anything that does not add to the story or does not lead to them understanding the problem or how you have solved the problem, remove that. It's not important. So apply this to while choosing your case study as well as what you put inside that case study. Be very selective with what you put out as a story. You will not be judged based on how many projects have you done or how much text you have written or things like that. What you will be judged on is the quantity of what you have put in. So make sure it's lightweight but value heavy. Let's talk about the last biggest mistake that most designers do. It's not focusing on the details. When it comes to your portfolio, no detail is too small. Misaligned elements, missing data, typos, missing assets, using lorem ipsum. Recruiters don't miss that, and they are actually looking for those things because this actually reflects bad on you. It shows the sloppiness in the work. It shows that you do not take pride in your work and you'll not be doing the same for their company or their work as well. So the trust is lost over there. Always remember, even the smallest of the details makes the best of the impressions, and missing those details will reflect very badly on you. Now, since we have talked about all the struggles that people face and all the mistakes that they do, here's an actionable guide for you to get started. The first thing is to start with a timeline. We are procrastinators. We can take months to create the same portfolio. So always start with a timeline in mind. And when creating timelines, what works is always backtrack from the day when you want to launch it and take it all the way relate to today and what are the small actionable things you are going to do every single day so that it can add up to that portfolio. Second thing that you need to do is create a Notion page of every single project that you are going to put in your portfolio. This helps us collect all the artifacts, write our rough ideas, select things, deselect things, and choose what we want to put in our final portfolio. Number 3, use a voice recorder. So we are not always good at writing things, but consider that you are talking to a friend and explain to him what you have done in this project, what sort of problem you solved, and how did you solve it. So open your Notion file and select speech to text, and as you are speaking it, it will help you convert all that voice into a text, which can be further used when you are writing the story. If you do that, you'll remember all those points which seem to be missing early on, and you can compile that and create a great case study. When you have converted this speech to text, now it's time to make a great story out of it. Choose the elements that help you tell the story, add what mistakes you made, what sort of dilemmas you faced, what sort of struggles were there, and how did you overcome it. Once you go about the entire process, you'll have a story. Once you have the story in place, now you want to add your personality. So if you are good at UX writing, research, illustrations, just use that to create personality in your portfolio as well. That will just add up to the whole experience. Now, since you have done the entire thing, now you're ready to put it on any sort of platform that you prefer. If you want to start out, Medium is a great place to be. So just put all your story over there and you are good to go. So here's a pro tip for you. If you have created this entire portfolio, what you want to do is you want to go and apply to jobs. But before that, what you should do is take a few days, send this portfolio to a few design experts, senior designers, lead designers in the company, and ask them for feedback on this. This feedback will really help you make it even better. They'll tell you if you are missing some important part, what you should add, what should you remove, and if you implement some of those feedbacks which makes sense to you as well as your project, you have a very high chances of actually hearing back from the recruiters. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, happy designing.